Good morning. I'm going to bring you another little bit of a container recipe video today. You'll have to never mind the rooster in the background. One of my backyard neighbors a few houses down has a rooster. Probably chickens too, I don't really know. Rather than giving a specific recipe, I was maybe going to talk about how to create this effect that I have. I have a whole lot of containers all together in groupings, and kind of makes it look like almost like these plants are planted in the ground here. So this grouping is sort of, this year I did color blocking. This is sort of the orange bundle. And really it starts with foundation. Over the years I've collected containers. I started with, maybe about as many that would create one grouping like this. I shop for containers sometimes early in the spring. You can find at my local garden centers, not big box stores, but local centers, if they're getting in a new load of containers for that year, all their new styles, they'll go through and they'll pick out their PC older ones where they only have maybe one of that style left, and they'll mark it down. So I always look early spring, really before annuals come into stores, before the garden centers get into full swing. That's the time to look. And also this time of year, late summer. I'm in Minnesota Zone 4. We only have, maybe 4 or 5 weeks left before we get a frost, as long as we don't get an early one. So everything's kind of winding down. All the mums, pumpkins, all that stuff is in stores. Everybody's going into fall mode. Not every garden center, but there are some local ones near me that mark down pretty much all of their pottery. Or they'll do like 50% off, because whatever doesn't sell, they have to manage over the long, long winter that we have here for months. So I just look out for deals kind of early and late in the season. Also, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Home Goods, those are good places to get decent prices on larger pots. But I do have mix of larger containers. So like the coleus, and I like to plant things so that you can't even really see the containers. Like you can barely see the container back there. I have a big containers towards the back, tall ones with big soil reservoirs that allows the plants to get really large. And it makes it a lot easier to manage watering. So sort of a backdrop of smaller containers, and then I have larger containers. And then I put the smaller ones in front. So I have like the big one that the canna lily's in. That's a huge square container, probably about 20 inches, tall and wide. This one is, you can't even see the container. It's way back there. That's more of a medium one. And then I kind of step down as I go into smaller containers. You have to be careful with spacing too. Things always get bigger. This way I think you have to plant fewer plants, because especially if you're planting the right ones, they're going to get big and fill in. So I don't have to fill a 20-inch container with 7 or 8 plants. I can use 3. And yeah, it looks, there's the kitty. There's the cat again. He was just hiding in the containers, probably hunting the voles. Go at it, kitty. Anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, it looks not as full in the beginning, but things fill in pretty quickly once summer gets into full swing. It's like over here I have my pinks. I've got the elephant ear in a large ceramic container. You can almost kind of see it through the foliage down there. Large ceramic container. Same with the one to the left of it here. This coleus is in a large, I think this one's actually terracotta, but I mean, those are big containers. And they can house big root balls like those plants have. And then I have some more medium-sized ones kind of in front. And that way I can kind of shift things around too as things grow. A lot of times there are plants that get bigger than you anticipated. So I can kind of move the pots around. Like this one here, this is more of a medium-sized ceramic pot down there. And I have one of these hippo pink hippoestes plants, and then I just planted a bunch of caladium corms in with that. In here I have, this is Coleus velveteen. Planted some caladium corms. These are regular impatiens that come in a 6-pack or 4-pack, and they just kind of all blend together. I like that look because, as you can see, I have concrete going from, up the driveway to the back of the house. There's no ground here whatsoever, all the way to the patio and into the backyard. So that would be very stark and very harsh. Now you don't have to go as big as I did with the plants, but without something here, it's just, that's a lot of concrete. So, but now it kind of looks like I have garden beds. So I have, what do I have here? That is the Color Blaze Sedona Sunset Coleus. Planted beneath it, this is the Strawberry Drop Coleus. It's a trailing coleus peeking out. I planted that on sale. I bought that on sale and planted it, so I don't mind that you can't really see it. This begonia, I have no idea what the name is. I bought it several years ago as a tuber from a local garden center, and I save the tuber every year, that sort of pretty yellow peach one. So I have that in I'd say it's about a 10-inch pot, kind of tucked back there. Another white begonia. Don't know the name of that either. I did buy that this year. That's probably an 8-inch pot. In front of it, a big square container. That one's probably about 20 inches. Golden Dreams Coleus. This is the Red Hawk sweet potato vine by Proven Winners. And I do have, you can't put the containers right up against each other. So that's the edge of that container. This one, there's probably a good at least 12 inches in between the two, to allow the plants to mingle but not crowd each other out. This is a clay pot. That one was kind of a hodgepodge of plants that were on sale and looked pretty together, but I have Nicotiana. That's just like a seed grown Nicotiana. This is Guacamole Plectranthus, one of my favorites. It gets more variegation and brighter in the sun. I also have it in the shade. It's a little more limey looking. And then this is Cerveza and Lime Plectranthus. Feels like velvet and smells like limeade. One of my faves. I have this is just in its own small pot here that I'll overwinter as a houseplant. It's another Cerveza and Lime. I have a number of perennials in the front. I also always need a place to sort of keep my stash of perennials before I have a chance to plant. These are things I picked up on clearance or on sale. This is the Daisy, what's it called? Not Banana Cream. Daisy May Daisy by Proven Winners. And then this is a Pardon My Cerise bee balm that I'll be planting up front. I have some sedum that was on clearance. I'm going to give some of those to friends. Another clearance perennial. That's a Campanula. All of these pots in the front here are annuals, although this comes back every year if I overwinter it on my porch. This is not Kirigimi. It's one of the ornamental oregano, hopleaf oregano, Kent Beauty. I've grown both varieties, Kirigimi and Kent Beauty. I like Kent Beauty better. I don't think it gets as big, but the flower bracts don't turn brown as early as Kirigimi, at least in my experience. It stays this pretty green, sort of sage green and purple color for longer. I've got a pretty geranium here. That's again the Nesia Tropical Nemesia. Some more of these orange geraniums I just got on clearance as well a couple weeks ago. So that's in a smaller pot. I will probably try and overwinter those. I haven't had luck with geraniums before, but I'll give it a shot. This is the, Plum Dandy. Yeah, Plum Dandy Alternanthera. That's the Proven Winners version. I also grow every year the Purple Prince Alternanthera from seed. Very easy to start from seed. They are virtually indistinguishable. I'll bring you over here and show that one for contrast. This is the Purple Prince Alternanthera, grown from seed. But I don't know why I keep buying Plum Dandy, but I do, probably because this is ready later, because my seeds are always a little bit slower. So I'm usually ready to plant before that one is ready to go. But you can see they have the same habit, same color, they get the same size. Really drought tolerant, great alternative to sweet potato vine. Also a lot more frost tolerant. This is the Cinnamon Super Cal petunia, well, cross between petunias and calibrachoa. Over here I have the Vermillionaire Kufia. This is an awesome plant. Hummingbirds love this. Just really tough plant. I think this one, that one is the orange, I think it's called Orange Marmalade, if I remember which one I bought. It's the Proven Winners Lantana Royale Orange, or Luscious Orange Marmalade or something. That is actually planted, so I have a large, or I guess a medium-sized square container here. It has the Alternanthera. This petunia was actually off the side, but it has worked its way up the middle. And this has gotten more leggy than I anticipated, but that is also planted in that container. This one has the Kufia, has an orange geranium on the side, which has kind of gotten taken over. And then the Super Bells, Proven Winners, Super Bells Dreamsicle. That one's a great plant. That one I do keep trimmed like I do all my calibrachoas. As soon as it gets long legs, I trim them off the bottom. And if it starts getting real long branches, I'll trim those back too. The large container that's sort of the centerpiece is a Canna Pretoria. I've had this, you can see the blooms way up there. It has really tall bloom stalks. I've had that plant for probably about 10 years now. I overwinter the rhizome. It's kind of hard to get it out of that container. It just seems to love this container, but I just knock off as much dirt as I can without struggling too hard, stick it in a big paper bag and put it in my basement for the winter. And then in the spring, I bring it out. Everything has dried down, so it's easier to get the extra potting soil off of it. And then you can see sort of the growth points where the new growth is coming out. And I pot those up. I always have tons of extra to give away too. In the bottom here, it's Toffee Twist Carex grass. Love the texture on that. That'll look pretty in the fall here. And then Supertunia Persimmon. It's mingling now. Looks okay. I don't know if I'm gonna, I've said this before, I don't know if I'll plant that one again. You can see they're kind of down in there too. It got real leggy and it was really hard to keep it trimmed and looking nice. So love the color. Not sure if I'll use it again. So I've got 3 big containers, 3 medium containers, and then a number of small ones up in front. And the small ones aren't always intentional. I just often find things that look pretty on their own and add those in. Over here, this is sort of my pink color block. The elephant ear got real dried out when we got, you can see it's putting off some new leaves. So I'll cut those soon, but yeah, it's some patience, a lot of caladium. I ordered corms this year. Couldn't tell you what they're all called. I know this one is called Gingerland. That's been a favorite. I've grown that before. I think one of the red ones is called Panther, and one of the pink and white ones is called Tapestry. But I ordered a few of each, and I completely lost track of where I planted them. So I will try overwintering them. I don't have the best luck overwintering caladium corms, but we'll give it a shot. So again, I have 2 big containers. I think I have 2 medium containers in front. Then I have smaller ones in front of those. So this one here, you can see there's a small container. Could be like how it's a large sort of houseplant sized pot that just has these caladiums in it. This one has caladiums as well as a begonia and this sweet potato vine. which I don't know. It's sold by Proven Winners. I don't know if it's specific to Proven Winners because I've seen it elsewhere, but that pretty variegated potato vine, there's just one of those, and it's trailing all along here. This one I said I have the Velveteen Coleus. This is Gingerland Caladium, and then Basic Impatiens. And I also tucked in, maybe not the best choice, I kind of forgot that I had this in the spring. This is a fuchsia called autumnal fuchsia. I'll probably grow it again and maybe try it in a little bit more sun, but it has this really pretty, it gets more chartreuse if it gets a little more sun. And then its new growth has that pretty kind of orangey color with those bright flowers. A little bit lost over here. I didn't plan very well, but still looks kind of neat. In the center container here, I have elephant ears tucked in with perhaps tapestry caladium and some more of these impatiens. In front of that, I have more of a medium small container. This is not White Queen. It's the Proven Winner, White Wonder caladium. That one, I'm definitely going to try and keep those corms. This medium container here has not a foxtail fern, one of these ferns, similar to foxtail fern, asparagus fern. That I have luck keeping as a houseplant. However, they're also really easy and cheap to find in garden centers, so I might just let it die and buy a new one next year if I want. Double Up Pink Begonia from Proven Winners, one of my favorites. Really gorgeous. And then a bunch of impatiens. I do have some of these, perhaps they're called Panther, I don't recall. Caladiums tucked in there. And then this is a smaller pot of just caladiums. You can see kind of the size on that pot. I do have some, again, perennial stash here. These were on sale at Home Depot a while back. The smaller size Dolce Spearmint Heuchera. I got 3. They were only $4 a piece. They were half price, so I don't really have a plan for those, but I picked them up. Really pretty bright red pink blooms. I love that cool foliage. A bunch of pink dragonwing begonias that I picked up on clearance. This is Golden Dreams Coleus. It's not actually in a pot. Those are in a jug of water, plastic container of water. There were big branches that broke off that Coleus in wind. So I just cut them down, stuck them in water. They've been growing. They're all rooted. I don't know if I'll try and keep them or not. And then I have a big concrete pillar here with more of a medium-sized pot. It's a pretty substantial-sized pot. The trailing plant, one of my favorites, that's Dichondra Silver Falls. That's another one. Proven Winner sells it, but I don't believe they own it. It is not their plant, because I've grown it for years and years before I ever saw it sold by Proven Winners, and I continue to buy it unlabeled. But that one's a really cool plant. More impatiens, and then this is, what is this tropical one called? Cordyline. It's a cordyline. Excuse me. So that's kind of how I create that container grouping, just a number of large and small pots. Try and plant things that will eventually drape to make it all look like one piece there. Same thing, this area isn't as color blocked, but I have 2 large containers. There's a really tall, really big concrete pot there. Elephant ears, the Tradescantia planted in it. I have a Terrenia and one of those guys. See, I forget as soon as I look at stuff. Looks like a dinosaur type plant. And then more of that one is the Purple Prince Alternanthera, much more muted color in the shade. In front of that, this one you can see a little bit more. There are smaller pots. I have some Rex begonias that I'm going to overwinter as houseplants. So they were like $3 a piece, and they were absolutely gorgeous. I have a few perennials to plant. More gingerland, caladium. This is the cherry cordial surefire begonia. That's a spider plant that I had as a house plant, and the poor thing was nearly dead. So I put it out here, and it really rejuvenated with some light and water and fresh air. And then this is another really big container. That one's probably 24 inches or something. And I have the purple hyacinth bean vine, I think it's called Ruby Moon, climbing up to the roof. This is the Plectranthus guacamole. That's how it looks in the shade. Really purple, pretty purple underside of the leaves. Not as much variegation on the foliage, much more muted, but nice bright pop. Really hardy plant. I have some more Rex begonias. Also, I got those super cheap. I have 2 of them in a medium pot, probably about 10-inch pot with the Hippo Estes. This one is also trailing from this plant here. I love this ferny texture. That is a lotus vine. I want to say it's called Amazon something. It's from Proven Winners. Would be a lot bigger and fuller in the sun, but I think it's a nice texture in the shade. More perennials there. And then I kind of move stuff around up front here. I have this Terrenia. One more of those. Still can't remember the name. Senecio Angel Wings. Tropical Sunrise. Super Bells. And another Terrenia in my bird bath. And then this is a smaller pot. Well, probably a medium pot with the Cerveza and Lime Plectranthus. And you can see I have some perennials that I have to give away there that I dug up. But that's kind of how I create those. A little bit of a recipe, I guess, if you have a space to do this sort of effect where you want just a big mass of plants together. I did my color blocking this year. That's basically how I do it along the patio here too. Usually on the patio, I only have room, once it gets behind the porch, I only have room to do one large pot. I have like this one with the lime coleus. That one is more of a medium-sized pot. Same thing, the one with these caramel super cal, that's more of a medium-sized pot. But these are all, that one's more medium, really large pots. And a lot of them I only plant three plants in them. Kind of depends on what I'm going for, but you can have a big garden if you know the right plants to pick as well. The ones that really perform and do well. Highly recommend Alternanthera, either the Purple Prince or Plum Dandy. You can see it both kind of, it's sort of a spiller and a filler. Doesn't just drape. This is your basic 6-pack Dusty Miller. And then I think this one is called Fragrant Delight. That is a heliotrope. But these are all, by this time of the year, they're all mingled and just give one mass effect. So I guess to anybody that was wondering, pick larger pots, I say. It's going to be a lot less work on you, keeping them watered, keeping the plants happy. Plants really get full when they have a lot of space for their root balls. It helps keep them from getting really stressed out when it's super hot, when we get a lot of heat or a lot of wind. Keeps them healthy even months later. Of course, here, zone 4, even when it is hot at night, or hot during the day, it doesn't last more than a few days for us. If we're getting up towards 100, we rarely go over 100. When we do, it only lasts a few days, and it still cools down at night for the most part. We might have a couple nights that are around 80, but for the most part, it gets at least in the 70s overnight, so that helps too. So I do have that advantage, but I think the advantage you can give your plants is big pots, so that they have a lot of water reservoir to rely on. I do not have any of these set up on drip. It's a little bit tough because my spigot is back here. You can see behind the air conditioner. And I have to run a hose all the way across the patio. There's no way to trench it. I suppose I could probably do a drip line. Maybe one of these years I'll figure out how to do that, and at least for the more thirsty plants, take some of that stress off of myself. Some things though, I have to look at them to make sure they need water before I give them water, because they'll suffer and die, like Calibrachoa, super bells. Those can't take constant water every day. They need to dry out or they just turn yellow and kind of wither. So anyway, maybe I give more information than I needed to, but hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.